Now, if you look at the screen, this is my intro. If there's one thing you should be impressed about, it's this. I'm telling you, this is a real show here. You come into this Studio 51, you get the real deal. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Brian Moreno Show. Thank you for joining us. This is my first time back after, I think it was 10 days or so, the last time we did a show. It was a little bit, I had a little work I had to go handle and do and take care of. I'll talk about on another show. So I feel a little rusty. However, this is a very exciting episode for a lot of reasons. This will be our first official episode on Spotify, all these podcast networks. There's literally 6 of them, and I'm supposed to have this note card in front of me with all of them that I don't have. So for those of you who may stumble along to the first episode on an audio-only format, welcome to the Brian Moreno Show. I am your namesake, Brian Moreno. Thank you for joining us. This is this is a show of very many colors of the rainbow. Thank you, audience members. Thank you. This is a show of very many colors of the rainbow, very many layers to this onion. Some of the layers make you cry. Some of them make you, hungry for more. Others disgust you. It's a little beaten up. But many layers to this onion. We have a sports show, a news show. It's like a lot of what we do is very derivative from Joe Rogan. Because Joe changed the business of AM radio. Okay, like this is, for those of you just listening to me, this show, the Brian Moreno Show, was conceived on YouTube. This is a video show intended with multimedia things. But if you're hearing me for the first time audio only, this is nothing more than AM radio, whether you're listening digitally or not. And what we do here at the Brian Moreno Show, it is a lot of things. I give you the news every week with an in-house doctor who reads you the news, and we give you comedy. I do a sports show every week, which is currently the lowest rated show I do by far. It is. It started out gambling heavy because that is one of the things that, whether like it or not, I have partaken in through a major course of my life. But it's a lot of conversation. It's a lot about, what is happening in the world, whether it be, whether the news be a little different than what you get on the nightly news. It's got our Brian Moreno Show spin to it. I am as I call it, an ex-comedian, ex-actor, ex-writer, ex-public relations, like a lot of exes. I did my ex-lover, a lot of things. I will say I'm an ex-head, but I am currently, a radio host and a director. And my first film, we were working on it tirelessly. So all of this show is simply a culmination of all the things I have done in my life. And I say X for some of these reasons because of pandemic, not getting booked comically. I'm not getting booked actorally wise because I'm probably 20 pounds too big, which is something I agree with. But this episode specifically, this is part of a segment that I do. For lack of better description, I call it the Mind and Body series. I am, for as much as I am a gambler, a comedian, a stock savant, a crypto god, and I'm just joking. As much as I am a lot of things, I am one who is very much into self-improvement. And self-improvement comes through a lot of different ways. Like this pandemic has taught a lot of people to self-improve in ways that they never expected. But this comes back to a larger point that I always try to bring up, that change is only difficult when you want to do. like when you have to change, you just have to, like, yeah, it's hard, but you just have to do it. Like, or you die, or you fall to the wayside, or you dig yourself deeper and deeper into a hole until you choose to, like, get out. But like when you want to change, that's when, it's really, really hard. Like, because you have to face a lot of your demons. You got to look inside. And this Mind and Body series, we have brought, I brought a wonderful doctor in here that gave us, God, we got to check back in with him. We brought a wonderful personal trainer, therapist. We have brought you a few people who I think could actually help any one of you if you do choose to go back and listen to the episodes. I will upload them audio only. But this episode, I think I find near and dear to my heart in a very different way. In studio right now, to my right, if you are watching, if you're not, don't worry about right or left. Just pay attention to what you're doing. To my right, the one and only Madison Ketchum. Madison, thank you for joining us. Madison you've been with all the Mind and Body episodes. I think you've also seen my comedy and acting enough to know how insane I kind of am. How it's a controlled insanity. I think we all have. Yeah,
and I spend time with you outside of that as well.
Sure. And you're also like a licensed. What do you call yourself? How do you describe yourself?
I am a massage therapist. I am certified as a yoga instructor, personal trainer, stretch therapist. And I'm sure there's a couple other things.
Which one do you like to do the most and least out of all those?
My favorite thing to do is massage therapy because I love working with my hands. I'm a Virgo, so like that immediate confirmation of like my efforts that comes from like meeting someone and then an hour or 90 minutes or 2 hours later them feeling so much better and happier because of me.
Now hold on, pretend I don't know what a Virgo is.
Oh yeah.
Let's start there.
Perfect. So basically let's just say that like I need gratification for my efforts and I want to be good at things, otherwise I don't want to do them. Like I'm like, am I gonna excel and be especially good at this? Cool, then I'll pursue it. And otherwise, I want to find out quickly, and I'll find something else.
Did you know this about yourself before you read the description of Virgo? And then you read, like, do you remember the moment when, because a lot of the astrology stuff, yeah. I have so much going on in my brain. There's things that, like, I just don't have time in my brain for, and astrology is one of them.
Yeah,
so do you remember the moment when you found out about astrology and how, like, the spiral went down, because it is a spiral with astrology, because it's a very, anything that is that much of a pseudoscience, there is a lot of interpretation that can lead you down whatever direction you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, I remember first, before even the Virgo-ness, knowing that I needed gratification quickly. So I remember what it felt like to have rejection or to feel like I did good at something. And then with astrology, it's interesting, like you're saying, for me, it kind of comes together with like groupings of things where if there was no like word Virgo or no astrology, but there was like a group of people who happened to share these personality traits, I would identify with that as well. It just so happens that the people, another one of which is with us now, that I identify with a lot of the traits happen to be born within like the same little cycle of the moon that I was born in.
Now, I will say this. I think that's a tough pill for me to swallow.
I can handle that.
Because no, I think a lot of it is just more about introspection, knowing oneself and what one needs to succeed. And I teach people this without looking at the stars in any way. Figure out what you don't like, because then you'll run into the things you do like.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I think astrology is just that, really convoluted. So that, or like busy.
Yeah, there's a lot to it.
It's all the same. Like, it's all about, you do you.
For sure.
And that's something that is very important to me. Now, our guest in studio. Now, I'm not going to screw your last. How do you say your last name?
It's Kosarin.
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 I would have made it more. Kosarin. Now, okay. In studio today, we have someone who specializes, I would say, in helping. And this is me, taking all of astrology into one thing, like I just did. You are someone who specializes in helping people clean their energy up.
That's a beautiful introduction.
Well, I'm for a lot of reasons, I find it fascinating, but I also need to play devil's advocate because I know a lot of people in my life have tried to help me clean my energy up and have done the exact opposite. So this is the point of view that I will introduce our guest today. Thank you for joining us. Chelsi, say it.
Chelsi Kosarin.
Chelsi Kosarin. You will find all of her information in the bio. Your website, contact, your handles. Now, Chelsi, without me convoluting it or messing it up or diminishing it in any way, tell us about yourself.
That's so sweet. Well, first, I just want to say I'm so happy to be here, and it's very exciting. So,
well, thank you. I hope you enjoy Studio 51. It's still a work in progress.
It's gorgeous.
Thank
it's
you.
Very colorful, and yeah.
Well, I thank you for joining us, but tell us about you because I am fascinated.
Oh, thank you. So. Where do I begin? So I'm a certified life coach, and I've been an embodiment guide and body teacher for about 13 years. And I've been a student of and practitioner and guide of Feng Shui for about eight years.
Okay, now explain.
Yes.
I know what Feng Shui is. What would you say Feng Shui is?
Yeah. So, I don't know. I know everybody has had experiences in very organic ways since they were, youngsters and stuff. But I have always felt really connected to home and energies in homes and energy that items hold and where things are placed. And Feng Shui is a wonderful experience where you can really connect into your home in a great way that has a system to it with elements and representations of life. And it's a really great organizational system as well that goes very good in my professional organizing.
Now,
business.
Let's get a little, because that sounds beautiful. It does. Like in a perfect world, that's exactly what you're looking for in your home is the work, especially now with pandemic, like a work-life balance, a sense of peace instead of, I don't know how some of these people can live in places that don't make them feel peaceful. And I understand sometimes people are in situations that make it unable, for them to find that peace. So I guess my first question for you is, did this all start for you as like a youth? Like, did you grow up in a place where peace and clarity within the home was there? Or did you find this later and then become fascinated?
That's a really great question. Thank you for asking. So I grew up in a beautiful home in the suburbs of New Jersey. And
North or south?
North.
Okay. I know south, Cherry Hill.
Yeah. I had some camp friends from Cherry Hill. So for me, my home growing up really, was beautifully designed and everything. And my wonderful and very sweet father was raising myself and my two sisters. And like, any household, there's a lot of daily things to do, but, life happens. And in my house, there were just a lot of things, in places.
Meaning what? Like clutter?
You're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, what is stuff in a lot of places? Yes.
Like there were just like some, piles of papers and, everything was somewhat organized, but it needed to be gone through.
Are you nicely saying that your parents were cluttered? No, and it's okay. Like, they don't have to watch the show. You can't be like, man, I wanted my mom to watch this, and then he went right for it.
It wasn't necessarily cluttered.
It affected you.
Yeah, it affected me.
I think you're having a hard time expressing what affected you about it, and that's okay. Well, you don't have to cry in the first 9 minutes. But
papers were everywhere.
But I believe for one to help anyone, they have to have an understanding of where their passion comes from.
Totally.
That's why with Madison, I thought it was very interesting. Right there, like just asking, you knew before a certain thing that you needed. Mm-hmm. And knowing that allowed you, I think, to become such a wonderful massage therapist. And for those who are in the Los Angeles area, I would highly recommend Magic. I do a thing called mashing. Mm-hmm. Which is she walks on me.
I do.
Because I am a creaky, as much as it looks like I am a strapping young man, I am not.
You need 120 pounds.
I am creaky and rusty boned and in every way in need of a mash. So
that's a fun thing that Chelsi does too is her embodiment work. So as you guys are talking about Feng Shui, she also teaches you in each part of the house, like how it relates to your physical body. And so there's like parts of your house that have to do with your ankles or your knees. And so I'm so interested to find out.
There's so much to unpack here.
And I just want to make sure we get that in.
And also, I just want to say that Madison is a fabulous massage therapist. I have had the honor and privilege of having a few of her.
It's true.
Have you ever had a mash?
I haven't, but a friend of mine has. And he just oohs and ahs over it. He's like, she comes in with her walker and she basically walks on you and it's amazing.
I used to call it smashing and people would be like, what? That's something else, I think.
That's when a hefty person presses, weights their body on you.
Or I found out everyone thinks it's sex.
Oh, God. That's what I was thinking. I'm not available for that.
No, but it's a real thing. Like, I YouTubed it. I've seen them training online now. Because I was trying to explain to people, I'm like, there's got to be I can't be the only person. But it's like, no, my mom and sister have been walking on me for years. So same thing.
Yeah,
now,
it's traditional.
Chelsi.
Yes.
This affected you as a child. The fact that you still see an image. When you're talking right there, words. For those of you who can't see this, I could clearly see there's an image as whether it be a child or a youth that you, I think, have, it's helped formed who you are. Now, I guess, where was the first building block? Was it organization, self-organization, or was it externally organizing, like for someone else? Like, how did you, because the Feng Shui aspect, and especially now that Madison's brought up, like what you're attempting to do is not only connect cleanliness with godliness, I would suppose. You're trying to connect cleansiness with a overall well-being, like a self, like an actual change within the space to change internal and external energy, I guess. Whatever that may, I like to refer to it more as if you're coming in and can't find things, everything, you're going to be working at a different vibration.
100.
And I have worked very hard at slowing myself down and taking moments to breathe. And I am a great collector of things. I can assure you. Like, I did not need to buy much for this studio other than the padding. Like, all this is my stuff. And I have had to work very hard sometimes at keeping things organized and hiring professionals to help me organize, because I know that when it comes to stuff, I am not the best at organizing. And it comes from a deep childhood thing. Like, my mom was like, clean it or it gets thrown away. Like, I don't know how many pieces of paper, because I'll write things down. This is not a new habit. Okay. Like this paper thing. Like, the way my mind works, I was taught if you don't write it down, it never happened. So I write things down, and I do revisit. I constantly revisit. And sometimes I probably should purge. And it's a problem that I know I have, but I'm clear in my heart about this. So that's why I work constantly. Now, my long-winded question is, where was the inception? Where was the conception point with you when you're like, this is something that I want to do?
Yeah. How long do you have now? So I will share with everybody that I also am a Virgo. Yay. And as a Virgo, I feel very...
you guys should have like so people know.
I feel like we've talked about this before. We're literally like, hey.
Yeah.
So I have always felt a really deep organic way about me and just seeing things. And
when you say always, when was the...
I mean, really as young as I can remember, probably like,
And what does that mean?
5 or 6.
What does that mean, like an organic?
I would just I'll totally get into it. So there was like one time I remember I was actually with my aunt in the grocery store in Manhattan, and we were getting things, and I would just, to pass the time, I was just organizing all of the things on the shelves, like for fun. Or, my father growing up and everything, we would donate a lot to Salvation Army or Goodwill and each season. And it was one of my fun pastimes to go into our closets and basically just rip everything off, off the hangers, out of the shelves, just put things in bags that I knew that were mine that I didn't need anymore and wanted to donate, and also would do that for my sisters and my father. And then I would just reorganize everything in a beautiful, systematic, gorgeous way because it gave me so much joy. And this was things that I did for fun at my house.
Now, let me ask you, is your cleaning style lean more towards purging or organizing? Because it sounds like you're a purger.
It depends. For me personally, at those times in my life growing up, I knew that the goal was to donate things. So that was definitely the impetus. But when I work with my clients and everything, I know that everyone's very individual. And,
What about you at home? Are you a minimalist?
I would say over the years, I'm not 100% minimalist. I feel like I fall somewhere in the middle between having a lot of items and minimalism. I'm like 50-50. I was actually just sharing in my 10-week experience today that I was leading earlier that I only have like one extras bin or one extras drawer. And if there's any overspill, I let it go or, give it to someone. I'll only have one bin that is of extra stuff, like extra toothbrushes, extra lotions, etc.
Are you a minimalist, Madison?
So I'm in her 10-week experience. So of that, I would say I'm a minimalist compared to everyone else in the way that like I don't attach to items. So I've never had an issue purging, where for me, the organizing and actually creating an idea through organizing of what else I want. Because when I first moved in with my boyfriend, I showed up with literally, at Target, like the 3 little drawers. And that was it. That was where my belongings. Because I pretty much, for work, I wear like yoga pants and almost nothing. I have a computer and a phone. So I'm not a minimalist in like a stylish way. I'm a minimalist in like you look around and you be like, have you lived here long? Like, are you on the run? Are you going to leave at any moment? I need to attach a little bit more. So
would you like to root into the home you live in?
Yes, I need to like have some art or like pick a color scheme.
So, okay, I trouble with that.
What about you? Yeah.
Well, I've lived by the very Jack Kerouacian life for a very long time, where I had nothing attached to me. And Jack Kerouac was more, if you own more than a rug, you own too much. Mm-hmm. And I, for a long time, was a lost soul, and some would call it a free spirit. I say much differently. I say lost soul, and it took me a while to figure out who I am. And I have gone, I've made decisions that I'm not proud of. I have made decisions that I am extremely proud of. And along the way, I have acquired some things. And there are things that are near and dear to me. Like, some of these are props from the movie. Some of these things I don't need at all. Like, I would take Ambien when it would first came out, and I would buy things in the middle of the night, not really remember. You just get an email the next day, like your item is shipped, so I did. And then that's a good story though too. And no, I try to find a balance, because I very much, like, I have a box right there of things for gifts. That, I do reorganize this all. Like, if this is, I told our wonderful guest today that one of the first things that I said before I even really introduced myself was, my place is much dirtier right now than it should normally be, because I was going to have it clean, and I was preparing, just let it go a little, because they're coming Monday, and then they didn't come Monday. So I'm playing catch up now. And
Do you notice that, Chelsi? Like, I'm wondering, because especially seeing that happen organically today, like, do you feel like once you tell someone what you do, they're like, oh yeah, and usually my stuff is really organized. So, like, do you feel like it like makes people kind of uneasy?
Yeah. Do you make people nervous?
Yeah.
Because you talk like someone who doesn't make people nervous.
I know, but she's intimidating without being intimidating.
Well, yeah, because you speak on, your cadence is so calming and clear. I don't know if it's true or not. Like, this could be one of the, like an Academy Award winning acting performance.
She's like this 100%. I feel like she shows us where we feel bad about our mess, because like, she's never said a judgmental thing ever that I've heard in my like time with her. But as soon as I'm like, not with her, I'm like, oh my gosh, should I be like, and it shows me, like, the way she is shows me how I should be acting with people. Like, she's so sweet. And I was like, I should be nicer to my mom. So that's a real thing that happened.
Well, my mom would always say that. Your mom would also say that, agree. Yeah, so, okay. You obviously, are you still close with your parents? Like, are you a good relationship with your parents?
So just to share with you, my sweet, wonderful mother actually passed when I was 4.
And you were 4?
Yeah.
So how do you know she was so sweet?
From my father and all of her friends. And
okay, just no, and I'm not saying otherwise.
No,
I just,
okay. And the beautiful photos that I see of her. She has a very sweet,
So she still affects you.
Oh, 100. Yeah, she's with me every day.
See, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
My father passed, and 4 years ago, 3.5, and he's, him and I never had a good relationship. It was, I am a lot of the man I am today because of how horrible the relationship was, and for better. It took me a long time to, to come to grips with it, but he lives with me every day, and I think your relationship with your father has probably really, as much as your mother lives with you, I think that's molded you tremendously, huh?
Big time, yeah. I am very close with my father, and he's a really great man. He actually was the one who taught me about the importance of donating things, which then definitely helped me to steer in my organic ways of, oh, this is so exciting. But no, my father is he's a really great man. He's
now brothers, sisters?
2 older sisters. Yeah.
Are they messy?
No, that's
yes.
actually a very great question.
They are.
My oldest sister, she's not messy. She actually has a really great system. She just has a lot of things. And she does hold on to items.
That's what I would like to be said about me.
Yeah, but she has
not messy, lots of items.
Good system. Good system.
She's a really good system. Yeah.
All I heard was good system. It was you two. Okay.
Yeah, my middle sister, she's not necessarily messy, but she's a mother of 3. She's a doctor. She has more important things going on in her brain that take precedence and priority, that when I come over and when I see her, we organize together.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I was actually just talking to her today. We're going to plan a trip that I'm going to come over and just zhuzh the house some more.
I like the word.
Zhuzh.
They love it. Zhuzh.
So how long would you say you've been in, like, you don't have to say like professionally, like how long do you think, because you say like it started as a child, but when would you say was like the first time? Yeah,
well, I remember organizing our linen closet, our, top of the hallway closet. I called it the, just put it in their closet. Everybody has one of those. You have one of those?
I mean, look just around, like I got a lot of closet.
Yeah. So I remember it was a project that I just loved doing. I was probably, I don't know, maybe 11 or 12, maybe 13. And I just took the whole thing apart, threw things away, and organized it and made it into my second closet for my clothes. And it was so fascinating, and it was beautiful. And it was fascinating because it had a tiny little bit of a walk-in area, so I called it my walk-in closet.
Oh, so you were fascinated with the fact that you were able to move stuff around and all of a sudden have a new room. Yeah. So maybe as a child, in your child brain, you saw the ability to take space and to recreate it.
Totally, 100. And with my sister, I mean, I have so many memories that we would go through her clothes, and I would literally be asking her, my sister's 4 years older than me, and I'd be asking her, well, how do you feel in these jeans? Like, do you like them? Do they actually fit you? If they don't, then like, let's let them go. And like, let's allow for new things to come in. And I still, that's still what is a beautiful way of looking at your clothing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Was it like kind of eye-opening, or like, for me, I had always worked on family members, like just for fun. My mom and grandma were both massage therapists, but I didn't ever see myself doing that. Yeah. So was there a point when you were like, oh wait, like people need this, and I can provide it? Yeah. So
in the last like 8 to 9 years, I mean, I would always just go over my friends' houses, and I'd be like, I'll help you. It's no big deal. I love to do it. This was when I was teaching dance and everything. And I remember about like 6 years ago, one of my nearest and dearest friends, she was like, you should totally make this into business. I was like, what? I was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I just love to do this. Like I'm a dance teacher. I teach embodiment, et cetera, et cetera. And about like 4 years ago, I was like, you know what? Like, I really like, let's do this. Like, let's really build this, because it's something that I organically love to do anyways. And yeah.
So yeah. When did you know that was there ever any doubt? Like, when did you know? Because I don't know how one goes into someone else's space and is confident that they can improve it unless they feel like their space was already, so when did you know that you could really help other people though?
That's like such a deeply profound question. That's
what I do. So like, this is not all by chance. Like, like I've been doing this my whole life. I just didn't have microphones before. Okay, this show's been in my head for 20 years. All right. Like, how do you know? How are you confident that you can help other people? Like, how? Like, where does it? And is there a moment that like you will go back to in your mind, like when you have doubt? Because we all have doubts. We all have second guesses. But sometimes it's about looking past them. Yeah. Sometimes it's about finding our center, our own chi, like that peaceful place. Yeah. Our strength, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Well, how do you know that you can do that? How that somebody, a hoarder, could call you and you're like, yeah. You seem very peaceful and maybe it comes from a very peaceful place, but where does the confidence come from?
Yeah. I feel like this is a 3-part answer. So
we only do 2 parts.
Oh, drats. So I feel like, I always can reconnect to even before I started my business and really just helping my friends and helping my sister as an example. Everyone always would reflect to me that they had a lot of fun and that it didn't feel so hard. Because I find that, and I, of course, also see this, at times with my clients, that it's not that it's necessarily difficult, but it can be very overwhelming to go through your own items because there's a lot of memories and there's a lot of emotions and a lot of just a lot of attachment and connection to them that people's like brains can get a little bit fogged. But to answer your question, I always just reconnect to how I can help people and how I can help guide them and how they feel after we're together. Because to me, that's really the most important thing, that they feel that they have moved energy, not only within themselves, but they've also moved energy in their actual home and items, and that they feel really good and feel really seen. That's the first part.
I was going to say, you got to get into the Feng Shui. That's got to give you some confidence, like thousands of years of tradition, right?
Yeah. And then the second part is also, my studies. I also do this and practice this in my own life. So when I started with my Feng Shui teacher about 8 or 9 years ago, when I was learning everything and I was like, wait, oh my gosh, I feel like I've always done that. Wait, I've always looked at it that way. Oh my God. And then of course I was learning, all the principles and all of the specificities, and then, experiencing it in my own life and kind of being my own client in a way. And then just really seeing how my life shifted and changed. And of course, thanked my teacher in so many ways. And then I was like, you know what? I feel like I've practiced with myself and here we go.
Now, how did you meet your teacher? Give me that story.
Yeah. So I'm from the East Coast. I moved to Los Angeles in 2010. And I met my teacher through a friend of mine who we taught dance together. And they had known each other for many years, since kind of not college years, but they knew each other for a long time. And that's how I met him. And I just totally steeped myself in about 2 years, 2.5 years of work with him. We were in a group together, and then I just continued to practice, after he kind of dissolved the very traditional weekly groups and everything. And then I continued my studies though after that.
Now, when you met, did you feel messy, like you needed a feng shui?
I didn't feel messy because I'm not a messy person.
Yes. Did you feel less organized before feng shui came into your life, or do you feel like you were practicing it without knowing what you were doing? You simply found the names to describe what you were doing.
I was definitely practicing how items hold energy and how they hold symbolism and representation in your life. But, when I started studying with him, I really was able to learn the actual principles and the specific setup of the Bagua map and how each...
What is this?
What is this Bagua map? Yes. So to be super specific, I studied and practiced Western Feng Shui, which is different than traditional ancient Chinese Feng Shui.
See that? Yeah,
you're like you
do it because I know what a lot of words mean. I don't know what some of these mean.
Yeah. So in traditional ancient Chinese Feng Shui, the Bagua map is directed by the compass, and you have a. I'm like, can everybody see my hand? No. Sure. There's a center in the circle and then there's 8 kind of like pizza pies that you would, if you will. And then in Western Feng Shui, there are 9 areas, and you align the Bagua map with the front door of your home, and then you basically overlay the Bagua map over your entire home. And of course, it depends. Sometimes someone's floor plan isn't necessarily a full square, or there's Well,
yeah, there seems like there would be a lot of problems in the Bagua method. Well, that's essentially based on modern construction.
Well, for you in this example, too, you would have to take into consideration that your deck would be a portion of that. So some of the energy and some of the organization falls into those categories. So for you, like love and relationships is on your balcony. So that would be like an area that you would have to organize and kind of create.
A lot of candles.
So
maybe put a water bed out there or something.
It's not a bad idea. First date, the barbecue.
See, one would think that, by the way, and there are elements to each area. And so fire actually is not in the love and relationships corner.
It's in the danger. It's in the danger corner. Wait, so okay.
Let's back it up.
No, so a lot to unpack, especially, because, and when I told you that I'm clear about my messiness.
Yes, please share more.
When someone helps me organize and they're like, how does this make you feel? I'm like it needs to be organized. We're not purging. That's how it, that's all. I just need to get some things and a little more organizational, whether it just be my spices and dishes or, just some of my paperwork. That's how, I know I have these visions in my mind how things should be, and sometimes I'm not exactly sure how to get them there. And organization, to me, I need to see a lot of the things I have because I get inspired by items. So you talk about the feelings that things hold. Well, when I see the tools that I have, it inspires me to build with them. Yeah. Whatever it may be, because really cool. I'm a big cook. I cook. Woo! The words can't describe what I do in the kitchen.
All right.
When are we having a meal?
Absolutely. No, I'm serious. I get busy. There's plenty of people that will second that motion. I take pride in my cooking, but I also take pride in my words and the way I'm able to speak. I don't take pride in some of my cleanliness and organization. That's why I do. I think about how much my mother has tried to instill upon me in cleaning, and I still do make my bed every day because I think there's something to that. A messy bed, just gives me a little anxiety. Oh, yeah. I don't know, maybe.
The day doesn't feel like it can actually start.
Well, I do something, but right now my bed is filled with laundry that I have to fold. And, I was, like I say, I'm not as organized right now as I feel like I should be for me to be operating optimally. That being said, I don't know how many of us can live in a world where we are optimally organized. So no. So I want to get to, you talk about these programs and these really beautiful ideals of organization. How do you help bridge the gap into a real tangible, functional daily life, especially when people live in small apartments or they live with a bunch of people or they don't have the means to do your course? What are the basic things that could really help a life,
Totally, yeah. So, the first thing I just feel called to share based on what you just shared, by the way, is that I am not the kind of home organizer or feng shui practitioner that basically says like, these are the 3 golden rules, and if you do this, it's going to work for everybody.
Because there are those.
Well, I mean, not necessarily, but like everybody is different, and everybody is very individual, and everybody's home, their outer home, of course, their inner home as well, is very unique. And I find that, you know, like you were just sharing, like you get really inspired by your items. And so you want them to be on display, you know, in ways. Whereas someone else might be, I want everything to be away. So everything's really super clean and simple. And I want to be able to then open up things to look at them. So if I say we're working with you, I would not want to change that about you, because that's something that really is of great value to you, as an example.
Yes, I dated a girl. She was, in her own way, a wonderful organizer, and I feel like, you know, she took gigs organizing people's stuff, but her techniques of organization made me have almost a brain aneurysm, because
and that probably didn't feel good.
no, not at all. So that's why I was like, how does this make you feel? Like, it just needs to be put in a little somewhere, but I can still see it. That's how it makes me feel. So what would you recommend to someone who doesn't, you know, because there has to be a balance. Like, sometimes you got to put stuff away. Like, you have to.
Yeah.
And I've learned, you know, that. How do you do it? Yeah.
It's to say that everything is always going to be organized is actually setting yourself up for failure, because, and I was actually telling my, you know, participants recently that there's a rhythm to everybody's home, and there's a rhythm. And so one way of how to, you know, the first step I would say is to really allow yourself to honor whatever your rhythm is. In the sense of, like, for me, if I'm doing laundry, I will fold it. You know, let's say I'm doing laundry at night. I'll try and fold it that night. But if I don't get to it, it's okay. And I'll do it the next morning. And maybe.
So you don't get anxiety about things? Like when you leave things out?
Well, I think my boyfriend would say otherwise. Meaning, like, if let's say the clothes, if the new laundry clothes are folded, if I'm working with a few clients and I'm doing a few things, you know, over the course of a couple of days, and I can't put those clothes away, I say to myself, there's a reason why, there's an intention behind it, and it's okay. It's not because I'm not thinking about it or I'm like ignoring it. And so I'll just place it in a very organized manner, either on the dresser or on the coffee table, and then I know that I'll be able to get to it at the time, at said time that I'm able to. I start stumbling over my words, that I'm able to.
Yeah, you started to get anxiety thinking about leaving this stuff out.
I like that you shared in the class before, which I think is helpful too for people, like what you were saying. You can't always have everything organized, but you were saying, like, if you know that your closet is really messy and you're not going to be able to get to it this week when we're covering the closet, say, she's like, you can just go in your mind for 2 minutes and kind of just tell the closet, like, hey, I see you. I know you're messy. And, like, I'm going to get to you. And even if you don't get to it for a few weeks, just putting it out there, like, that intention is addressing it. And it'll help kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like, you know, with journaling, instead of having to walk around like every fifth thought, by the way, I almost forgot that my closet's a mess. It's like you put it out there, so when you come back to it, it's not lingering on your chest.
Exactly. Yeah, because thank you so much for saying that and reminding me of that. Because your external home, your outer home, as I call it, is a direct reflection of your inner home, and your inner home is a direct reflection of your outer home. And there are also some times, like you beautifully just said, if you can't get to it, you can drop in internally, so you can at least clear your thoughts of it, so you can be efficient and optimal in the ways that you need to be in your day.
What do you find are people's biggest roadblocks for their internal and external homes? Like, what seem to be the things that you see regularly?
Yeah. One, not knowing that there's a connection is probably the biggest roadblock, not even thinking that there is.
How do you overcome that? How do you show them?
First, the awareness, just actually, telling them that. And then in regards to the next roadblock or, helping them overcome, once we actually start to do some of the, as I know you don't necessarily love it, but the purging.
Well, I do purge once in a while. I should do a little more, especially with my sock drawer. But
things start to reveal themselves, like in beautiful ways. Like, people start, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize, oh my God, I still had that. Oh my God, I didn't even know that I was holding on to that. And then once we start to get movement and some energy going, then they start to feel good. They start to feel like they have energy inside, and then like, wow, I can keep going. And they start to feel the immediate item connection to their outer home and their inner home. They start to they have a little bit more space to be able to breathe a bit more. Yeah.
Now, is there a particular case that you remember that made you feel the best, like when you open someone's eyes to something that they hadn't seen before? Like me as a creative spirit, that's one of the golden moments is just showing, a great writer doesn't necessarily have to create anything. They simply show people something that was right in front of them and just put it in a different light, show them in a way they never saw before. Is there and I like how you said participant. We'll get back to that, but anytime when you have had a client or participant or friend, and then you turn the light on for them, and it showed them something that was right there in front of them. Is there a moment that you remember?
The immediate thing that's coming to me, which is always the thing.
Yeah.
One of my friends and also clients, she was actually going through a breakup at the time, and basically went over to her house for about 3 days after her working hours. We spent about 9 hours, and we did her entire apartment in Manhattan, and particularly her front hall closet was in the quadrant of the Bagua map that is travel and helpful people, benefactors, and everything. And it was a mess. Like it was a beautiful mess, And when we were able to get into there, we actually could create a little landing place where she could meditate. She actually could now sit down in that closet and actually have a little meditation area. And she could put pictures of her, places she loved to travel and hang her hats up that she would take on vacation and everything. And I remember she just was like, oh my God, I didn't even know I had this much space in this closet. And this same person, the same, friend and client, when we were doing her love and relationships corner, we were placing a pair of things, because basically in that particular corner, you always want to have a pair of something. And we placed these beautiful candlestick holders with these very long candles. And the next day, she had returned home from work, and one of the candles literally went limp. And she was like, if this is not an indication as to literally all of the energy that I just moved and where I'm now moving into the next part of my life, she's like, I don't know what it is. She's like, this is, oh my God.
Yeah, weird.
It was amazing.
Now, why did you choose this particular type of feng shui over the Bagua map style? Why did you choose, or why does you go by that?
Yeah, one, when I met my teacher, it was how he practiced, and also to me personally, I find it to be a bit more simple, a bit more attainable and understandable. And I pay respect to all kinds of feng shui, especially traditional, because that's where it came from, but the Western feng shui, I find to just be a bit more simple and understandable.
Are you religious?
Am I religious? Great question. I grew up Jewish, And I love my Judaism very much. I love the traditions and the meanings and meaningfulness in Judaism. I woke up to my spirituality when I was 18 by practicing A Course in Miracles, and my first spiritual teacher.
You say woke up to spirituality. What does that mean?
I actually, when from my childhood until I was 18, I really only connected to Judaism. I mean, it might sound very, just like, woo, but that was really, to me, I was like, this is the only thing I know. And then when I found my mentor and my teacher and connected to spirituality, woke up to spirituality, I started to really connect to the universe and connect to energy, and something I had found at the time and still feel, something a bit bigger than me. And I would say in the last probably about 6 to 7 to 8 years, I have found a really happy medium and balance between my Jewish roots and my, and Judaism, with my connection to the universe and connection to spirituality and A Course in Miracles.
And what does A Course in Miracles mean? What is that?
Yeah. So A Course in Miracles is a text that is all about, for a very simple explanation, it's basically about the statement that only love is real and fear does not exist. And it teaches about how love is the most important thing and fear is just false evidence appearing as real. And my first teacher, Gabrielle Bernstein and Marianne Williamson, I steeped in heavily for about 12 years, just continuously practicing this. And when I began to then connect and weave in my Judaism with this, I really my eyes, I felt, actually opened up even more in realizing that in, Jewish traditions and everything, it's all about love and family and connection and the meaningfulness and the symbolism of, many different things in regards to each holiday. I'm like, I can dive in if you'd like me to, but that. Yeah.
No, I think that is a very wonderful story and a great way to put it. I can't remember the exact philosopher, but he was talking about the evolution of people who are religious and how they either go the same way their parents did and usually more hardcore, or they find their own path. It's usually just a why as someone progresses religiously. And I think you went to the spiritual side, which I have basically my whole life been that way. But I think with what you're doing and what you're saying about energy, I think to just staying true to your Jewish roots are important, but to limit it to that was probably limiting your ability to grow, not only grow as a person, but to grow into this individual that you are, that's so clear in helping others energetically. Mm-hmm. Because if you limit yourself, then you're limited in what you can see in others. And this goes back to this initial point that I keep, coming back to, because I think it's very interesting how people find their strength, and I think a lot of your strength comes in your clarity.
Thank you.
No, I didn't thank, no thanks to me. Thank your father. Thank you, your teachers. I'm just, telling you what I see. Now, I guess my next question is, how have you found making this into a business? Because, one thing that I've learned, it's really great to talk about energy and spirituality and being clear, but to monetize it sometimes makes it dirty. Sometimes it changes the way people take it, the way they look at you. How have you found it adding? Because money makes everything vibrate at a very weird frequency. Like it adds a dirtiness to things.
I don't even know what your relationship
Well, sure, but I'm just saying, a lot of the time when we just do things out of purity, it's very different than when you're doing things as a service. How have what are some of the troubles that you've run into in that,
Well, I will answer your first question. It's been so much fun. Creating.
You love what you're doing.
I love what I do. I not only love what I do, but I have found that all my life's work up until this point, thus far, has been in service of others and helping people feel really great in their internal home and in their external home, and allowing them to feel clean and clear, as I say. So that way there's energy moving. And how I find energy, the word energy, I connect to it as, it's like, do you feel something stagnant inside of you? That is energy that is stuck. Is there something that's, in your home that's feeling really stuck? That's also stagnant energy. And so to me, I like to create it more in a tangible way than just like, ooh, do you feel the energy? I very much do ask my clients that, do you feel the energy?
Well, energy in motion is alive. Energy that's stagnant has a death feeling to it.
It does, and as I mock myself.
Well, no. This has probably been an issue that you've come up with. Saying that some people maybe have looked at you a little corny, and you're probably
I call myself out sometimes. I think literally,
well, you're probably a little corny.
I am so
okay.
cheesy. I'm so corny. I'm pretty much sure I said that, Madison, last week, and I was like, so I know I'm really corny. I'm gonna say this, but
yeah, she was like, I'm corny, but you could do this thing, and then we're all like, we would love to do that, but we'd have to be like a little bit more confident in ourselves. But that's the whole idea. It's like just being true. She's not afraid to like actually do the work, which I think is a big thing with the organization. Like, what holds me back from some of my cleaning and organizing is feeling like I won't do it right, or like it's going to be too hard. So kind of that ability to just be like, I'm going to do it all out. And even if it's like a little silly and embarrassing, like who cares, because I'm going to end up with what I want.
Yeah, and you're shaking up the molecules and you're shaking up the energy as well, which, to anyone listening, if anything, you can just start small, because when you get into certain items in your home, that maybe have been sitting there for years, maybe it's just been a couple of months, you're still moving, energy. And like you said, energy in motion is real. And when energy is not in motion, it's also felt real that it's not alive.
I also kind of feel like, I can speak for me, if I had it like money wise, right? If I hadn't spent money to do the program, I probably wouldn't show up to the like classes, because I wouldn't feel like, oh, I put money in, like I should get out what I put in. I would be like, oh, it's a free class, like I'll go if it's convenient, but I'm not going to like make myself stick to it.
See, this is interesting because I think one thing I should give you a lot of credit for, Madison, is you seem to be, as far as I know, very much into self-improvement. Like you are very, like you.
I can confirm that too.
It's something that you find.
It's pretty good to start with.
Yeah, not only like exhilarating, it kind of defines you. Like you really find some definition of self in improvement, and that's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. As you were, as she said, a participant, which is an extremely zen way to look at a business transaction, like as a teacher-student type thing. Now, how has this affected relationships with you? Because what you do sometimes, I'm sure, has been taken as, I don't think pushy is the word, but sometimes it can be this whole moving stuff around. It's very personal.
It's extremely personal.
So sometimes it's crossing like an invisible boundary when somebody moves your stuff.
Oh yeah.
How's that affected your relationships?
Relationships, personally, or relationships with my clients?
In general.
Just in general.
Like.
Say with boyfriends, because like that's.
Well, no, I mean, like with definitely with boy, like I would have asked about boyfriends, whatever, but friends, even you can see things like and maybe cross the line and say I can help you and be like, what's that bitch saying?
What are you trying to say?
I don't need help. She thinks she can, whatever. Yeah. And so that's why I'm wondering, does this sometimes does it affect you? This thing that you do people look at it negatively? So
I will say that. Got two parts.
Yeah,
I know there's only two parts.
Well, that's good. That's perfect. That's
So I will just say that I am a very respectful person. So even if I'm going into, say, my sister's home or my, dear friends' homes, I don't move anything unless someone gives me permission.
Now hold on. Sometimes these are things because these are learned behaviors because we have, been not respectful in our past. Does your respectability come from a mistake that you've made where you realize I should not cross that line?
That is another great question. So in my dance teaching education and in my years of embodiment and work and everything, I've always been very respectful of just space, not only, people's bodies, but also of the energetic space around people. So I really, in being a teacher of, in that way, I've always just really practiced being very respectful of people's space. I don't think I've ever... I don't come from a place of, oh my gosh, I used to do it this way and move people's things and then people stop talking to me. It doesn't.
Well, I was just taught as an early age as a child, if it's not yours,
don't touch it.
Don't touch it. Yeah. Right? And if somebody lets you move something, you give it back to them better than what they gave it. And this was just instilled upon me at a very early age. So I can imagine maybe I did something as a little kid where where this lesson was taught to me very clearly because it resonates in my brain. And I just wonder, someone who has to touch people's stuff for a living, that would give me a little bit of anxiety because I'd be like, you have to move things from here to here and you should do this because I'm not touching it. So that's why,
Do you ever have people who you get upset because things bring up emotions and like you're saying, so I feel like your question kind of married, have you had experiences where a client gets upset even though you haven't moved it just for whatever and you just kind of have to stand there and be like, okay, this is awkward now.
I can always, when I'm working with a new client, I can always, I connect into their energy and I connect into their rhythm and I go at their pace. So and I actually always repeat that. I'm always like, this is at your pace because this is a very intimate process. This is very personal. And the only way that we're all really going to succeed and succeed swimmingly is if we follow your pace and your rhythm. And I always say, I can do purging and organizing and feng shuiing for hours. But I honor their pace. There was, a story actually I did just get sparked of when I was
I knew it. I 1,000% knew she was going to leave here and remember. I'm so happy to be like, oh, I did do that. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. So there was one time, I know I brought up being with my aunt in the grocery store at one point, but there was another time when I was in Manhattan. I was staying at my aunt's place. I was there for the weekend. And I think that we were in a D'Agostino's. And
what is the D'Agostino's?
It's a grocery store in Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pizza place.
Okay, yeah. That sounded way more nefarious.
And I guess I was bored. And remember I told you I moved things on shelves, in my free time? Well, I was moving glasses.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And
broke.
One of them fell off the shelf and
you were
shattered.
Mortified.
I was mortified. But I was mortified because I felt like I was doing something that was very organic to me. And I was like, I'm being helpful. And then all of a sudden it broke. And I was like, oh no. And I really was. I was mortified. Like little Chelsi was mortified.
Well, see, these things, they affect you. That's it. your synapses start to fire in a way where they're like, I ain't going to let that happen again. Yeah. So, yeah, that affected you. All these things, like when you look back.
Everything has a connection in so many ways.
Sure. And I'm one that believes talking about these things is not only productive, it's probably, it's probably interesting to you to hear it framed the way I see it. I guess my next question is, have you ever met anyone in your business that you would call like a phony?
In what way? Oh, meaning like other people who do what I do, or clients. I was
not clients are
phonies. I'm like, what you talking
about? Well, if they're paying, you don't care what
No.
As long as they're paying. No. Other organizers that you meet and you're like, this person is like, they're giving the whole profession a bad name, because I know some people who call themselves life coaches, who, I mean, they
make it all about them.
Well, they got no business, like they had no business coaching anyone else on their lives. And I find, and some of them are making money, and I find it's almost like they're preying upon someone or something. And there's one thing that I do not stand for. It's seeing people get preyed upon.
I agree.
And I feel like, a lot of people have had to take on new roles in the pandemic. That's why, I mean, just like with you, Madison, if you would see like an unlicensed, therapist working on someone, and you're like, man, you're literally making it like bad for everyone.
I've seen some wild stuff, like when I do a couples massage, which is like very rare, but I've seen some things where I'm like, if I received that massage, I would be like, this was a complete waste of money.
Like you were doing it working at a place with someone else.
Like where you're working on like a couple at the same time. And I've seen one where the girl did the whole massage, and there's different types that people like, but the whole massage was just over the sheet. Like there was never skin to skin contact, which is okay if you had requested that. Like some people maybe are sensitive.
But she just did it
That's
that
not
way.
what happened. And then another time I was doing a massage and the girl just never flipped the person over. So the whole hour was on the back. If you request it, that's great, But they went in thinking they're going to get a full body and they only get half. And I'm just like, I asked her about it and she's like, I just do what I feel called to do, which I understand to a degree, but consent, like with moving things, you have to make sure that what you're providing is what the person is looking for.
Well, sure, there's a level of expectation.
Yes. So I'm sure you probably see
involved in all transactions. So it's 100. Like, look, there's a sucker born every minute, and if somebody wants to pay thousands of dollars to have shoddy work done and they feel like they got it done right, who am I to say otherwise, okay? Because there's a level of expectation of like, look, I just needed them to clean up my garage, and they did it, so fine. Have you encountered someone like that who gives your profession a bad name, or who their technique makes your skin crawl a little bit, or their beliefs are totally opposite what yours may be?
Well, I don't mean to sound really boring, but I actually don't really pay attention much to other.
See, that's a really zen answer she's giving me. But this is
so
another
boring,
one where she's. I know you've seen though. You have to have seen.
So again, I'm like, this is gonna sound so boring. I have been so focused for the last, 4 years, that I am just like.
Oh well, I guess this is interesting because you say I'm focused for the last 4 years. So when it became a business for you, you put the blinders on. And as a good, strong business person, that's important. So I would totally believe that. Like, you're doing you and you can't worry.
I'm like, whatever anyone else is going to do, go for it. Now, with that being said, it's very important to me. Like one of my biggest values as, a business owner and, someone who provides a service, like you were saying, that in regards to organization, and I think I've already said this, is just knowing that everybody's unique and everybody's individual and everybody has different tastes as well. So in regards to organization and stuff, everyone, I work and tailor with my clients to what they like,
What taste do you not like?
Oh.
Yeah, so you say everyone has their own taste.
You're really going for it.
Well, no, because you're good at skirting some of the negativity in this world. You're really but I am a professional at asking the same question 1,000 different ways if I have to.
Personally, as an example, I like canvas bins. I don't like wicker. I'm thinking
I like wire because I can see through and stuff and clear. And so, okay, now
as an example,
what
if someone's using wicker, I'm gonna be like, no, they stink. No, I'm just joking.
What if have you seen a job that you felt like you couldn't tackle?
Oh, what a great question. No.
Have you ever had to bring in someone else, or do you do it all solo with the person?
I do it solo with the person. There are times when I will, I'll have an assistant with me who basically, helps because we can have more hands. But yeah.
Now, the thing is, okay, when I have any type of organization done or work with, it is exhausting.
Yeah.
Okay, it is. Look, I know a lot about a lot of things, and being tired is one of those things I know a lot about. Okay,
I'm like, tell me more.
and I can give you my energy level when people are organizing and cleaning and asking me about throwing things away. It sucks the life out of me in a way that it's almost like my college accounting classes, that when you're dealing with Roth IRAs and those things, my eyes glaze over. And I'm like, can I just take this pass fail? Do I need a grade? Do I have to be graded? Because, I find it very difficult and troubling sometimes. And how do you do a 9-hour session? What is the longest you've done? Give me the most horror story you've done so far today.
Did you say horror story?
Horror story,
it would be a horror story to me, and I know.
Well, no,
and I know
where it's this is it's taking it's taking everything that you have.
Yeah, so I know that this is going to be what are you talking about, Chelsi? There's no way that this is possible, but it's literally how part of my brain works. And it's also I see the world through whether something's organized or whether energetically something fits somewhere. So I actually get so invigorated, from I've worked with clients for, numerous years. I've, like I said earlier, my friend and I, we worked for 9 hours straight for 2 or 3 days, and over in it, you get it. Yeah. Anywho, I get it's so exciting to me.
Do the clients ever just get beat down, or they're can't?
Yes. I mean, there are certain clients who can only go for 3 hours at a time.
Me.
And that's why I always am you tell me what your pace is, what your rhythm is, because I can go for really long time, and I want to honor, and it's your space, it's your home. I want you to feel good in the process, so we can space things out as much as you want, et cetera, But
is that
my friends usually only get about 4 hours, so don't feel offended. Now, what would you say for just the average person who might stumble along to this and be hearing our voices for the first time? And
hello.
No, but somebody who they want to add some better, they want to clear up their internal house a little bit, as you say. I'm trying to figure out how to.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the baby steps to move in that direction?
Totally. Yeah. What a great question. Definitely for sure. Doing a gut journaling exercise.
What is it?
So gut journaling is basically when you take a pen and paper, or if you like to journal on your computer, and set a timer for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and literally just write anything that comes down, anything that comes across your thoughts, and just go. There's no censor. There's no, editing, and you basically just get it all out. I like to also do this to some music, so you can put on, whatever song you really like in the background.
Why do you find, and you brought up journaling also, why do you find I understand the value of writing things down, but you tell me why you think this is so important.
Yeah. So in my experience, in my own personal practice, like if I am feeling really either scattered in my brain or there's just so much going on in my brain, and or maybe there's something that's kind of weighing on my heart and the thoughts about it haven't actually dissipated or dissolved, I will do some gut journaling. And why I find it to be so important and really so helpful is because, you know, all the thoughts that you have that move through your mind, and this is of course a part of meditation, you can either really cling on to them or you can just see them, hear them, and then let them go, and you can move on. But in gut journaling, it's a very visceral and almost somewhat embodied experience because your fingers are moving, whether you're typing or your hand is moving, whether you're writing. And it starts to move emotions, even if it's just thoughts that you have that you're just as I also call like a brain dump. And you basically, you know, empty out all of the static, you empty out all of the things that are clogging up your mind.
So the gut journaling is the first step, you think, in
your inner home connection.
Really? So then what would you say the first step for the outer home connection would be? Like, or the outer, to clean up the outer home, like a baby step, like something like
a little tiny
yeah, because the gut journaling seems like you could just pick up a book and get some things out. Yeah, something very that you don't have to really pay anything for, but could probably be very productive.
Totally. I think everybody can do it, and it doesn't cost anything.
So what about for your outer home?
Yeah, for your outer home, baby step, it would not be with Feng Shui right now, because that I don't think would be a baby step. But
no, that seems like a giant step.
What mountain are we climbing?
Yeah, like a baby step, because a lot of the stuff you're talking about to a lot of people isn't. Yeah. It's almost a foreign language.
Yeah, of course.
So that's totally like so the baby step. Like we got to learn to walk before we can run.
Totally, yeah. That sets you up for success. A baby step I would say is if you were to look around your house, just kind of do like a little survey of the land, a little scan of the land, as I say. Any spot that you actually gravitate towards that you would really feel, that would actually be really simple. That would be really easy. That could be your cupboard in your kitchen. That could be your bathroom drawer. That could be maybe even your desk drawer. Things where you don't really have a ton of memory or a deep emotional connection with, I find to be a really great baby step to get some energy moving and to get some energy shifting from stagnant to not. Yeah.
So shifting energy is the smallest thing. Now, how do you determine areas of biggest concern by where you gravitate towards or the places you gravitate away from? Because I feel like in a lot of people's homes, it's, like I can just keep pushing it into the corner and just avoid that corner. You wouldn't say start there? I sometimes avoid the thing. So maybe I'm talking from experience here or personal. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
How would you, as someone who's like that, what advice would you give?
Yeah, I actually was just going to ask, can you share a little bit more specifically about what you were just saying?
Well, no, like if someone, I used to have this girlfriend who had a closet that was more of a giant, dumpster, she would just open the door and throw things in there and just kind of shut the door and just pretend it didn't exist. And I found that to be very indicative of how her mind worked. She was probably taking a lot of things and throwing it in her emotional closet, slamming the door and just till she drank the door shut, right? And I found that, very unhealthy. I think our brains process everything equally. We are the ones who add emotion and value to things. To the universe, it's all equal, but we are processing everything the same. So For me, I would say that sometimes it's getting over the hump of actually doing it, because I know it's going to make me feel better. I know I can do it, but sometimes, I make the bad choice to not do it. How do you show someone, or how do you help someone make that choice to actually just doing it? Because that's to me my biggest problem, because I know I can, but I'm choosing not to.
Yeah.
Maybe it's self-sabotage. Maybe it's laziness. Maybe it's I'm tired, right? Maybe it's that my plate is too full and I am working on other things. I've self-analyzed a lot. So that's why when you are asking for a description, there's a lot of reasons why I choose not to do things. And sometimes I know that whether I have to wait. I have to wait for the right, when I see it, when I know it's time to do something. How do you get over some of those obstacles when I feel like maybe they're just self-imposed?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that also further. I definitely, again, if someone has a put it in their closet or a drawer that everything goes into and they just lock it and they don't look at it, let's not start there, because it's definitely going to be the clown car that you open up and it's whoa, how many things are coming out?
Interesting.
So start somewhere where you actually, a baby step, a really great helpful thing would be to start somewhere where you don't have any attachment to anything. And start somewhere where maybe you even haven't even looked at, and maybe it's just a drawer of pens,
Really?
Yeah. And then in regards to the emotional component or the self-sabotage component, as you said, I would basically just ask back, or, connect, share with the client and just say something like, well, how often are you thinking about that closet? How often are you thinking about that drawer? When you walk by that part of your hallway, do you constantly get pinged because that energy is being wasted on not looking at that spot in your home? And it's actually pulling at your energy subconsciously, and even most likely in times that you don't even realize it.
Huh. So that's interesting. Yes. Because in my mind, there's a front area over there that I know I have to invest more time and energy to. And sometimes when I do walk by, it is taking my thoughts away from the other things I'm doing. It is sometimes a distraction.
Yeah.
And that is, counterproductive.
Yeah.
Something that I'm not the biggest fan of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. The benefit of how you would feel if you take care of it has to outweigh how good it feels to just sit. For me, speaking personally, when I was sitting on my couch and I looked at the bookshelf before I organized it this week, I was like, oh, I'm just going to watch this show and I'll do it tomorrow. And then I was like, well, the show's on in the background. I could do it now and it wasn't because I wanted to get it done. It was because I knew that if I got it done, I wouldn't think about it again.
Yeah.
And just that one less thing in the back of my head of being like, oh, shoot, you didn't do it. That little, I don't know what the word is called, for the voice that's annoying you. I was like, how much would I give to shut that little voice up for 10 minutes? And I did it, and it felt good. Of course, like she's saying, once you get started on the easy places, it kind of encourages you to go on. But I think a big thing for me is the benefit, I have to get more out of doing it than just the thing being organized. I have to get some type of relief or satisfaction. It can't just be like, oh, it looks good now.
This goes back to, Chelsi, your very initial point about showing people the connection.
Yeah.
Right there. That is the that is the epitome of the inner house and outer house connection right there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Now, I found in my life that certain people just aren't capable of certain emotions. They're not we're all hardwired very differently, and some people.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced someone incapable of keeping organized? I'll come. Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
That's a question I think in maybe 10 years I would like to now that you're a little, I think you'd be more sure about it. Maybe
I definitely have encountered some people who have a bit more of a rhythm and pace that they get disorganized quicker, even, after it's organized. And it's also all okay because
no, it is, and I feel like I might be one of these people, and so that's why it's like I'm not hating on this person. Let me be clear: if they're listening, I'm with you, brother, or lady, whatever.
Maybe your rhythm is like chunks at a time. Like you do it, and it's good for a while, and it starts to go, and then you do it, and it goes. But maybe part of your rhythm is
it seems that way.
Maybe I don't know if that's a thing.
Oh, I was also just gonna say that like ultimately the goal is for everyone to feel good, for you to feel really good in the home that you live in, for you to feel good because the home that you live in is the container that you reside in. It's your space. And, and whatever rhythm and pace you're at, if that's your rhythm and pace, that's cool. As long as you feel good. If you don't feel good, then let's address something.
See, that's you can only say that. That's a very evolved way of thinking. And I think, and I know that when I do these mind and body episodes, that is literally why I do them. Is if one person out there just feels a little better because of one thing that we talk about in this particular series, then it was not only worth it, it's worth the lessons that were taught to the people well before us, because what good is the information if you don't pass it along?
100. Absolutely.
And that's why I feel like this was, it made me feel a little better about my organizational or lack thereof organizational methods and how I do things. Like I really feel that as much as I am an evolved species, there are so many things I can do to improve myself. But that being said, the way I'm doing things is still something okay about it. And as long as I am trying to improve and get a little cleaner at my own pace and more organized, then I do become more creative. And I know I do become clearer.
Yes.
And I know that's so much in my life. Like when I am all over the place, I can't think. And it becomes extremely frustrating. And this particular episode, I hope it was for those who are experiencing the Brian Moreno Show, I hope it was helpful. Because Chelsi, I think you are an extremely fortunate person to have the mind that you do, but also to have had the teachers that you've had, from your father, your mother, to all the people in between. I feel like you have taken a lot of these lessons and it genuinely affected you in ways that the ripple in the waters have gone far and wide. And I think you should be very proud of yourself. And that's something that in the moment when you're as a business owner, maybe you don't realize, but you should know that the pebble that you throw, like it is affecting a lot of energy much further beyond what I think you could even see and what you probably do see. And I think that's a testament, like look, I could be very appreciative of you for quite some time, but I hope the pandemic, like you're obviously doing online classes, like how has that affected your business?
Yeah, so
I hope you do good because I think this has been the way you speak. I think a lot of people could learn from. So that's why I just tell us a little bit about your business, before we go, because I would hope that one person reaches out to you from this.
Thank you so much. I work one-on-one with clients, and I also, in pandemic days, it definitely has, it's been a little bit of a, shifting in sorts. I really, in the beginning, I totally paused everything just because I wanted to give everyone really a lot of space to process everything and was really respectful of that. And I am still working one-on-one with clients. in COVID safe ways.
Well, sure. But you also do some type of class. What was that? Would you explain what that was?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I actually was, this past summer, I was in a meditation and I had this idea come to me, connected to it in a download, if you will. And basically it's a 10-week course. I don't say the word course. I say the word experience. I say it's a 10-week experience. It's a home and life alignment experience called At Home with Chelsi Kosarin. And this particular round, we started with the Chinese Lunar New Year. And we then go through each of the 9 areas of the Bagua map. And I lead everybody through exercises. And there's at home play, as I call, instead of homework, so it feels a little bit lighter.
You would if this organizational thing doesn't work out, you would be a master at PR. My God, I am good. I'm great with words.
Oh my gosh. She's good.
Thank you. And basically it's in a beautiful, intimate group setting where I teach everybody in, each week on a particular area of the Bagua map. And we go through the inner home of where you are in that particular area. And then at home, they do the purging and the organizing of their actual outer home. So if I was with them as a one-on-one client, we would be doing that together, the outer home stuff, but they get to do that on their own.
And we take before and after pictures.
Yes, and there's a reflection tool that I give everybody. And, I ask wonderful questions, and it's a place where they can reflect on the work that they've done and send in before and after photos so that they can see their progress. And it's a space and a place where I also can hold space for them to be able to feel that each participant can really do this, because I believe that everybody can. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of support and encouragement and a little bit of guidance.
See, that's beautiful. You're a very clear soul in a world of so much muddled nonsense. I know. I'm very thankful for you coming in today. Thank you, Madison.
Thank you, Madison. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was very no. I'm simply a meat bag that's here.
Is so special,
No, you. Yeah. I think you absolutely are. Make sure I have all your website, all your social media stuff. Those of you watching on YouTube, make sure you comment, you subscribe, or you talk. Open the conversation up if you have any questions. And I can't say thank you enough. I really hope your judgment of me is not based on some of my messiness.
I don't judge. I don't.
Well, I'll believe it when I see it. This has been a wonderful episode. This is, I think, the 3rd or 4th Mind and Body. I will continue to try to bring wonderful people like yourself on the air who have not only very empowering stories, but really great advice for all of us for maybe just a hair of improvement, because God, sometimes that's all you need.
Amen.
Really, sometimes that's all you need. And I can tell you, I need way more than that. So I'm not talking from experience. Let me be clear about that, ladies and gentlemen. This, I guess the pleasure was probably all of mine. I was gonna say, thank you, but thank me. And no. This has been wonderful. I hope someone gets some improvement, because I feel better. Madison, do you feel good?
I feel great. Thank you both. I'm so happy to spend this time with you.
No, and Madison's wearing the shirt. I'm going to make sure you get a shirt, the Comedy of Evolution. Check it out. I got a new website coming up. This has been the Brian Moreno Show. Super great.